How would you feel if you finally bought your first home, the market crashed, and you lost 50% of what you paid for it? And does that fear have you stuck in your tiny little apartment with its paper-thin walls, listening to your neighbor practice his awful guitar playing? There's no shortage of opinions out there on the state of the housing market.
Home sales are falling, prices have begun to plunge.
Those areas, it's a good time. Now would be a good time to buy a house.
So how in the world do you know if it really is a good time to buy? In this video, I'll be showing you the truth about buying a home right now and the 3 scenarios that people find themselves in when they're searching for a home to buy so that you don't make a bad decision. We'll also take a look at what most people get wrong when they're deciding whether or not to buy and how you can easily avoid this crucial mistake. The first scenario that we'll take a look at is probably the buyer who asks the question, is now a good time to buy, most often because in their mind, they have the most to lose if things go wrong. These people have spent years planning for the big moment and they have no experience in the arena, which just adds to the pressure to make a good decision. So if you are a first-time home buyer, is it a good time to be purchasing? If you're in this group, then you know how unsettling it is to even be thinking about spending your life savings on a down payment. And you're probably also trying to figure out if it might be better to wait until the interest rates drop a bit to make that payment a bit more manageable. But doing that could be a massive mistake, and let me show you why. You see, right now the housing market is like this big bag of water with a small hole in it. There are a lot of people who would love to buy a home, but with interest rates at multi-decade highs, there's just a trickle of buyers who are actually willing to take the plunge. But if interest rates begin to come down, more and more holes, they're gonna get poked in that bag, and more of the water is gonna come streaming out until finally it reaches a point where the bag is torn open and everything comes rushing out. And if you wait until that point when all the pent-up demand from the home buyers over the last couple of years comes flooding into the marketplace all at once, you'll likely find yourself in a situation similar to what we had in 2021, where homes were receiving multiple offers and first-time home buyers were largely being pushed off to the side as they were unable to compete with the cash buyers and people offering sometimes $100,000 over the asking price. So if you are a first-time home buyer and you can actually qualify for a mortgage that will get you into a home that fits your needs, then yes, it probably is a good time to buy. Now there's another huge problem most first-time home buyers face, but it can also be an issue for the people in scenario number 2. So let's examine that first. So what if you already own a home? Is it a good time to buy if I'm looking to trade up and get a better one? If that's you, then you've got a big issue that goes beyond the high interest rates, and I think the best way to describe it is to look at another item we trade in all the time, our cars.
So this is my wife's car, and it's rapidly approaching 20 years old. We've put a lot of miles on it, and it's starting to show all the wear and tear of an older vehicle. So we're thinking about finally buying a new one. But what if we walked onto a lot at a dealership only to find that they had just a few cars for sale, and the ones that they do have aren't anything close to what we're actually looking for? Right now, there are tons of people who are sitting on a 3% interest rate, and they're not too excited about trading that in for 7% on a house that's also more expensive. Since they're not out there trading in their homes, it's created a massive shortage of houses for sale, and that means that it's probably not the best time to buy if you're in this category.
So rates and inventory get talked about a lot, but I feel like there's a totally separate problem that most people miss, including those in group number 3, and this is the scenario that's the most challenging by far. For this one, let's say that you've been aiming for a promotion at work, and after years of hard work, you finally get rewarded with an email congratulating you on your new position, but your excitement is tempered a bit when you read the next few lines that inform you that you'll also be moving to a new city. And now you are suddenly a relocator. So why is this one the most difficult? Well, besides the obvious that it absolutely sucks to move, it means that you now have to make lots of decisions about your housing immediately, and also on 2 fronts. First, you have to decide what to do with your current home. You sell it, rent it out, turn it into a super hip Airbnb. If you decide to sell it, you'll be juggling trying to get your home prepared to go to the market while also trying to find a place to live on the other side. And over there, you'll be posed with the exact same choices. Do I buy or rent? And what if it's not a good time to buy? So here's the thing that most people miss when they ask that question, and let me tell you a story to explain. So when COVID first popped up and locked all of us in our homes with an enormous amount of free time on our hands, I got a little restless due to all my normal entertainment options suddenly vanishing. And for some reason, that boredom led me to believe that I should take up a bit of an odd hobby, day trading. The stock market was one of the few things that COVID couldn't shut down, and I thought I'd make some easy money on the side. I bought a book about day trading where I studied charts and theories on the the craft, and once I finished, I opened up an E-Trade account and gave it a whirl. But just like the thousands of others who thought that this would be a good idea, I quickly learned that it was not. Trying to predict the performance of a stock within just a few minutes proved to be about the same as deciding whether to hit on 14 at the blackjack table. And after I took a few beatings, I decided to end my ambitions as a day trader. Now you're probably saying,
Well, of course you lost money. Day trading's super risky and you're not a professional investor.
and that's true, but it's amazing to me the amount of people who treat buying a home the exact same as a day trader treats a stock. Because if you're asking the question, is now a good time to buy, you're leaning into the notion that your home is an investment, and it's not. You aren't going to turn around and sell it a month later. The goal for most people is to spend at least a few years there before maybe trading up to another one. When you ask, is it a good time to buy a home, it means that you're trying to time the market, which you'll never do successfully. Instead, you should treat your home the same way that you think about your retirement account in your early working years. You probably glance at your statements and notice whether the account went up or down a bit with the market, but you don't obsess over it because you don't need the money right away. And removing that sense of urgency will allow you to make much better decisions when it comes to your housing needs. Now, of course, there are a lot of other things that can go wrong when you're a relocator. And when I moved to Phoenix in 2021, I made a ton of mistakes. And if you want to avoid some of these issues, then you should watch this video right here, where I'll share some overlooked items that should definitely be on your radar if you're thinking about moving.
Hey, was that good?